Hello, my name is Elijah, and welcome to my podcast, Songwriting for Songwriters. This podcast is all about celebrating the art form of songwriting. I talk to special songwriting guests, producers, and artists about songwriting, making records, and how music shapes artists' creative visions. My aim is to create a resource library of conversations with some of the most successful songwriters, legendary artists, cult heroes, game changers, and my own personal heroes and influences to inspire you, the songwriter or music fan. As a songwriter myself, me and my guests go deeper into the creative activity we love the most and which we are all obsessed by, songwriting. You can also get yourself a copy of my book, The Songwriter's Handbook, from Amazon, in paperback form or on Kindle, which is filled with 52 songwriting challenges and themes to help you find a spark or seed of an idea for your next song, or if you've never written a song before, for your very first. The theme music for this episode and this season is a track called Wake of the Dawn by my band The Gravity Drive. You can find that track on all streaming platforms and also from thegravitydrive.com, taken from the album The Wild Light. So joining me today, my very, very, very special guest on the Songwriting for Songwriters podcast, the first guest of season 4, is a bona fide legend and icon, songwriter, performer, frontman of Deep Purple. Ian Gillan today is my special guest, and we speak about his songwriting, his career, advice, influences, and much, much more. This is a really unique and special conversation, so please share far and wide. Let us know what you think and enjoy this beautiful episode with rockstar Ian Gillan. Joining me today on the Songwriting and Songwriters podcast is songwriter, frontman of Deep Purple and rock legend Ian Gillan. Ian, how are you this morning?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Nice windy day.
It's very powerful out there. We're at the Marine Theatre in Lyme Regis, where I met you a few weeks ago.
Yes. When
you were working with the children's musical group B Sharp. Mm. You mentioned in that interview you had on stage that there's a new Deep Purple album on the horizon. I was just wondering, from a songwriting point of view, what kind of lyrical themes you've been exploring?
Well, it's very interesting on this one. I can't give you too much at this stage, but it's basically very optimistic. Let's say it's there's a general theme. It's a fairly loose conceptual idea of the end of humanity, but not as grim as it sounds. In fact, it's very optimistic.
Okay.
It's about the metamorphosis of humanity into a metaphysical state.
Amazing.
Our next incarnation. I can't. It's a bit too early to be doing interviews about this. I don't mean time of day. I mean it's not going to be out until June, so I don't want to give too much away.
Well, I think that's a nice little gem for the fans, anyway. You've worked with some of the most, creative and legendary, and written with some of the most legendary and creative guitarists. That kind of dynamic between vocalist, melody writer, lyric writer, and guitarist. Can you speak to that kind of dynamic as what that is, what the special union between the two?
It is. It's very important, obviously, but at the same time, you've got to ignore it. I've got an idea that came to me a long time ago with Deep Purple. That when you're writing like that, as opposed to sitting down with a song, a co-writer, or on your own with a guitar, and you're writing the entire thing.
Yeah.
Then there are no boundaries really. But with a band, you're very much confined by what you're given.
Yeah.
For example, the working practice of Purple has always been the same. We go to a place for a week or 10 days and go into the office every day, start at noon, finish at 6.
Great.
And stop for tea at 3 o'clock. It's like going to the office. And the guys just start playing, and it's all improvised. You have no idea. If you were a listener, you'd think you might be hearing the preparation for something operatic or some mood music for a yoga or massage parlor, or you might be in a jazz club or hearing some blues or rock or soul, any kind of thing that came to their mind. These are great players.
Yeah. And
so the music evolves, as I say, and then dramatically switches into something else. So basically it's a week-long or 8-day jam, and every now and again somebody nods to somebody else and says, okay, that's worth keeping.
Yeah.
an idea, a mood, a rhythm, a sequence, or anything like that, and we record it and come back at the end of the session with probably 35 or 40 ideas.
Yeah.
And the next session is much the same. We trim it down and then add some more and trim it down to 30 ideas, and it gradually evolves. Now, I don't have much choice really, other than to say, well, perhaps there's too many verses there, or we need a little bit here, or a section, a middle eight there, or whatever. But basically, it's the guys putting the songs together, and I just have to, what I call, ride the pony. And when it comes to this sitting down alone and shaping my contribution, I've got to pretty much fit in. But then again, it's easy to be overwhelmed with something like that, because it's a hell of a challenge. So I've got this attitude: I've got to take over, I've got to dominate completely, and make it sound not as if I'm hopping on afterwards, but as if the whole idea came from the song first.
Right.
It's a reversal.
Yeah.
So I've got complete freedom in terms of lyrics, but obviously there's a mood thing.
Yeah.
And it's got to fit with the songs. And obviously, I liked, in more recent years particularly, to have a concept for the album.
Okay.
That basically hangs things together. The last album was called Equals One, and it was all about my frustration with the complexities of life these days, and so forth. So working with Richie was very easy, because he was very. Don't forget, there were different days.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we were much younger then.
Yeah.
And when you're young, you write about different things.
Yeah.
Also, we weren't so emancipated, can I put it that way, in the business, because writing your own songs was a relatively new thing with rock bands.
Sure.
It started pretty much with the Beatles, and because up until then you had to go and get on your knees to the publishers and ask for something out of the top drawer, and it depends how famous you were as to the quality of material they gave you.
It's amazing to think, really, that those four boys from Liverpool, really, in so many ways, they set down a standard at such a young age to go, we're writing our songs. The same with segregated audiences in America, saying, we're not doing that, we're writing our own songs, and they really set a path, didn't they?
They did. It was almost inevitable, really, that there was a force that the music business, as it was called then, couldn't resist. It was so powerful, and of course that opened the door to a lot of things, as well as the technology of the day, which was transistor, and we were inspired by all of that. So we were learning to write, and songs like Highway Star and Speed King were very much off the cuff, written on a bus. And a journalist on the bus with us said, "How do you write a song?" And Richie sat in his seat and he just went ding 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 on with one string on the guitar. He said, like that, and so I started singing something, and we were on the road to Brighton actually, and and we half wrote the song and did it on stage that night. Amazing. And there were other things, like so many youthful inspirations. We were frustrated with the restrictions of the day imposed by some people who thought we were too wild. People like Mary Whitehouse and Lord Longford had a campaign against all the things that we enjoyed, so we wrote a song called Mary Long, which was about those two people. And songs were about fast cars, loose women, parties, and teenage joy, really, and young people's joy. It changed over the years, and so did the music. As the musicians got better, the compositions I was given to write over became more complex, and to a certain extent a little more detached from simplicity. I learned in Nashville that simplicity is the best platform for virtuosity. If you have a complex platform, it's very difficult for anything to shine over it. But if you keep it simple, then the individual elements can come forward. And that's what happened. I think over the years, the music got better, and we sort of undulated, I think, in and out of the what you might call trends and fashion and that sort of thing. The musicians got better, and so therefore they got more joy out of their own playing, and sometimes it became a little inverted, a little less easy to relate to in terms of body rhythms.
Okay.
Unusual time signatures crept in, 5/4 and 7/4 and things like that. They're still doing it, but we've learned how to make it interesting now.
Okay. So, I often think of songwriters myself as football teams. So if you're a fan of that songwriter, like a football team, you will go and watch them, you'll listen to them no matter what the output of their performances are. Are there any songwriters that you have stuck with you, that you just keep going back to, returning to, that are influences on you, songwriters that stand out for you as an influence?
Not really. I prefer, my approach to songwriting is more like storytelling.
Okay.
And so I would really refer to John le Carré and novelists and people like that as my inspiration, rather than songwriters. There are, of course, plenty and tons of them, and a lot of great ones. But I didn't understand songwriting at first. It's a very limiting form. I believe, certainly for me, that every song should be a short story. But you're very limited by the amount of time you got to tell that story in the format of a song, which normally requires some kind of punchline, a hook, or a chorus, or at least a bridge, and something to alleviate the people expect that kind of format. And so we can work around it. Blues, of course, we used to call it talking blues, and a story is told without much care to anything other than the story itself. And a foot tapping you'd hear on the floor, and maybe a simple chord structure and rhythm. With a rock band, it's more complex, and of course everybody wants to shine, including the rhythm section. So I think of stories as songs, or songs as stories, and the trick is to encapsulate that. Bob Dylan was the master of that, and you would remember phrases like "lay across my big brass bed" and "boots of Spanish leather." You would remember things like that because that's poetry. So if you combine a short story with poetry, you've got some lovely colour phrases that tell the story for you. They'll save you a whole verse of words, because it's like impressionist painting. You get it. You really get it just by a stroke of a pen. So that for me is what I would always do. And I've just finished, because of my eyesight now, I can't see very well, and I can't read my own handwriting now. So I've written my last book. In terms of that method, I'm working on other ways of writing now. But I've just put away my last book, and I've got a library of school exercise books, composition books, that I use to write every day. And it's not writing for a song or writing for a project, it's writing for the sake of writing. And if you see something interesting and you want to describe it for future use, whatever it might be, just even in your memory, you've got to get it down and develop it, because you can't remember things any better than if you write them down. That way they take shape in your memory bank.
So that writing every day is a process. It's a commitment.
Every minute of every day, you take your book to dinner with you, and you whip it out to the annoyance of everyone when someone says something interesting, or someone intriguing is sitting at a table across the bar, or wherever you happen to be, on the beach, or on a train, or on a bus. And those events, I think, if you have a wee poet inside you, you tend to express things when you're writing it down with a little more of a flourish than you would, and embellishment. So you create the bigger picture, and then you shrink it, and within all of that will come phrases that you can use in your songwriting. And so it's like a bag of sweets, really.
Do you think that obviously you're very committed to your writing process? the idea of a muse, like, you mentioned maybe read a John le Carré novel. There's things that can be direct inspiration, which you'll see, observe in life. It might make you think of something. But do you believe in that aspect of like a muse energy that's around you as a songwriter, like an inspiration energy, or is it you, the kind of filter that's picking out these ideas?
Combination of everything, really. It's a holistic thing. You've got to live the life.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is to avoid is... obviously, during your apprenticeship, during learning days, you copy heroes and all of these styles and things that affect you and your particular capsule of teenagers or youth or your own crowd. Yeah. But there's I remember also the idea that when I was a kid, I sort of poo-pooed Frank Sinatra and people of his generation purely because they were of my parents' generation. Yeah. And there's this kind of natural teenage psychological vandalism. You destroy history just to make some space for yourself and your emergent ideas. And it's fertile ground that way. But if you have everything sort of around you, it can be a bit difficult to make your own way. Yeah. So you've got to clear the decks first of all, but then you've got to be realistic and think that you weren't the first person on earth. Right. And so you really should absorb some of these other things. And I learned to love Sinatra and realised the platform for his great voice was the Nelson Riddle arrangements of his songs. Yeah. So we all need help. So I think the important thing also is to remember that what you write about when you're a kid is very exciting. Yeah. And it's exciting to you and your mates and everyone around you, and you sing and you go, man, that's cool. But then it comes a time when you reach 30, or maybe you've got kids and a family, and it's not so cool after all, writing about those subjects, because everyone goes, you're too old for that, and whatever. So you've got to find different things to write about, and they have to be things that excite you in order to excite others. But it doesn't have to be dramatically exciting. It can be intellectually or emotionally exciting. Yeah. Things that really have character. And there's more depth to it at that age too. So you've got more, a greater field of,
absolutely
harvest.
It's a far wider experience.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
In actual fact.
Yeah.
I've been in a band myself and done that sort of frontman role where the band are jamming, and you can visit with nice insight into the way Deep Purple are working with that. When you're standing there listening to them jam and create, are you kind of carving out melodies and you basically standing back but carving it yourself and kind of working out where you're going to sit? And
I call it humming and hawing. That's what I do at the time. And and you find shaping some phrases. Yeah. And looking at the verses, looking at the pitch you're in, and looking for hooks. And sometimes a phrase or a title will spring to mind straight away, and you're off and running. Yeah. But sometimes it doesn't. It's just a tune, and so you're just jamming yourself as if the voice is an instrument, and that's not a bad thing, because if you can transpose that into lyrics, you're on a winner. Yeah. Because it will sound so beautifully natural. Yeah, because you've got the architecture. Exactly.
You're with it. You're immersed in that kind of architecture of the music, so it's going to be very pure.
And that will shape your words as well, because if you want to have percussive vowels, percussive consonants in places to accent things, you've already got the framework to do it, and you got the old tricks of the trade. You avoid the ooh sound on a high note and things like that when you're writing the lyrics.
So when you're writing yourself without a band, guitar or piano, is that a very different experience?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that comes... I'm very primitive with my guitar writing, and I get like all songwriters, I get a little phrase and I just go over and over and over and over 1,000 times. Yeah. My wife used to say, is this ever going to be a song? Yeah. Sorry about that, yeah. But it's a different approach because it all comes at once. Then it will emerge from something pretty solid. Yeah, that's it in your mind. Got to grab that, and you pick up your guitar and you work it out how it's going to sound.
I describe it myself as like feeling obviously I don't know what it feels like to be pregnant, but I feel like a pregnant kind of urge, which is like now, and then sit down and kind of find a guitar, and it's almost like I've got used to the feeling or the signature of the feeling of something's about to happen, and then it kind of does happen like that for me. It's a kind of catching it before it lands.
Well, that's a good analogy, being pregnant. I mean, I just finished the Deep Purple album, and I was saying the other day, it's the nearest thing I've ever felt that a man can feel to giving birth. Yeah. I think, and probably almost as painful at times.
That's so true. Well, maybe not, but absolutely. Having had such big hits and co-written such big hits, are they still your friends, or are they sometimes a hinder when you've got new material? How do you feel? What's your relationship with those kind of songs that everybody knows and loves? And
Well, using the same analogy, the songs are yours until you give birth, and then they become someone else's. They become publicly owned. Yeah. And so the people will then tell you whether they want to hear them again, and if they want to hear them relentlessly, you've got to make sure you love those songs, because you're going to have to perform them for the rest of your life.
Do you still love those songs?
Yes, of course. Yeah, but it's only because they're still alive.
Yeah, okay.
There's a big difference in the freedom we have in rock music. I mean, I was fortunate enough to sing with Pavarotti a couple of times. Yeah. And he told me one day, Ian, I heard you sing Smoke on the Water 6 times, and every time it's different. I'm so jealous. In the world of opera, if I change my original interpretation of one of my famous arias by one scintilla, I would be crucified. If I change it emotionally, technically, in any way at all, from the original interpretation, you have this freedom, and it's true. Your performance is dependent upon the mood of the band. Yeah. We have much more freedom in rock, and you don't look when you're writing when we were starting off with an album called Deep Purple in Rock, we also contiguous to that was an album called John Lord's Concerto for Group and Orchestra, and it's quite an amazing springboard to the start of a band's life. And we gave no thought to how it would turn out. We were just expressing ourselves naturally in the rehearsal room. And then, of course, all the powers in the world came in to advise us what to do for the next record. Management, publishers, record labels, promoters, PR people, fans, you name it. And we decided at that time, over a few beers, that we were going to ignore them all. Good. And that we were never ever going to be a slave to fashion. Great. And I think this is very important for you to wear your own clothes throughout your life. Yeah. And I think in all aspects, not just with music. But so the process is, and we often say about this when the fans write in and say, why didn't you do another one of these? And I said, well, exactly for this reason, because, to try and write another Highway Star is just stupid. Yeah. So we do ignore the fans and the management and the publishers while we just write whatever we feel good with, and this way we can live with it for the rest of our lives. But when we release it, that's the point we get on our hands and knees and pray and beg that they're going to like it. Yeah, yeah. Because that it's only at that point that we can hand it over. Yeah. I have so many stories in my life of myself and other people who have bent to commerce and regretted it. Yeah. It might be a temporary, enrichment one way or another.
I think it's as you said, it's always been that way for artists. As I sort of go with my own journey, the most important thing that comes across to me is to carry on being absolutely authentic to whatever yearning or feeling is in you, because otherwise you are literally just a puppet, aren't you?
That's right. But be poetic.
Yes.
Don't be prosaic. I mean, I think literal translation of something emotional is always embarrassing.
Right. An A&R man that I was signed to told me that the most important thing I can do is read books, and you've hit upon that. Is that something that a piece of advice you'd give to songwriters, so they kind of understand language and other people's use of words?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, they understand those things if they're expressed in a poetic way. Yeah. I don't think people want to be preached. That you don't want to proselytize and tell people what to do or how to behave. you don't really want to stand on top of a soapbox and preach.
No.
I don't think that kind of thing is. It's not for me anyway.
Sure.
I know a lot of people, but you're only going to reach half the people if you're preaching your political or religious or artistic views. I think you've got to couch them in terms that they can be reached more broadly.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean to say you diminish in any way the
No.
power of your thought
Yeah.
or the power of your idea, but you've got to. It's storytelling. I think that's the important thing.
Are you still as excited as you were, when you were younger, to create records and write songs? Is that still a kind of daily excitement for you?
Hell yeah! Oh
Excellent.
God, yeah. I mean, I'd love to be talking about the new Purple album right now, but I'm afraid I can't. It's just a little early. They'd all be pissed off at me in Hamburg.
But it still gets you. I mean, for me, it's like that thing where it is still the most exciting thing ever. At 2 a.m. in the morning, first thing in the morning, it's a friend for life, isn't it? That kind of creativity.
Yes, it's as you're walking around and traveling and all of those things, you just soak it up, and that's the material, is reality and your reaction to it.
How important is it to be self-critical as a writer and to be your own kind of judge and jury as you're writing? Do you just let things flow, or are you kind of on yourself whilst you write? What's your relationship with the critic and the creative?
Oh, I don't care about critics at all. I can't be bothered about that.
But your own self-critical process.
Well, I've got my rules.
Okay.
And I've got my construction. There's two elements to writing. There's the craft and the art.
Yeah.
And the craft, you've got to hone that and practice, like as if you're playing an instrument, or as if you're learning a trade, or as if you're in a laboratory. It's really clinical.
Yeah.
There are certain unbreakable rules that you break them and you're lost. You're completely lost. So if you stick with your framework, I always think it's like a trellis. If you're growing wild roses on a trellis, the roses are still wild, but they're kind of, you've just got them on the wall where you like them, and they're pleasing to the eye. In that sense, instead of growing all over your mother-in-law and all that sort of thing, it's much easier to keep them to tell the story. It's like I was saying earlier on about not using the vowel oo on a high note. If you're a singer-songwriter, that's something you learn very quickly. And the value of percussive consonants to emphasize the value of keeping in time or keeping in rhythm with the rhythm section, to know where the bass drum is going, so that you can use that as punctuation, as with or between your words. All of those things, it's rather like being an artist and learning your palette and how to mix the colors, how to learn perspective and shape and form and construction. All of those things are really vital for a song. Bearing in mind the overall, if you want to be a storyteller, then you have to condense it, and all these tricks of the trade will help you. And then when that becomes second nature, that's when you have more freedom. Because, and also when you sit down with the band and you're there working 6 hours a day, you get these songs from the embryonic stage in your bones. They're there, and so you know where the emphasis lies. You know where the punchline's going to go. You know where the mood's going to change. You know where to swing. And you know where to get those hibbity hop bits that if you're just sitting down dry trying to construct a string of words, it'll sound like you're reading the song off a piece of paper, as opposed to coming from the heart.
Just going back a little bit, you grew up in the 50s and 60s, but for someone like me who grew up in the 90s, it feels like the sort of golden age of creativity, like there was something happening. Do you think that's true, that there was some kind of creative spirit around at that time?
Yes, because it hadn't become improved by then. It hadn't become diluted. It was raw. I listened quite a lot to music of different eras and different cultures, one of my favourite radio stations at the moment is plays jazz from the 20s and 30s.
Nice.
So we're talking 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was so fresh.
Yeah.
There was no formatting at that point, but it was just beginning. There was the beginning of structure.
Yeah.
And it was the end of the banjo as the rhythm section, and it was the beginning of, you suddenly heard Gene Krupa playing drums.
Yeah.
And waiting to be unleashed.
Yeah.
And he was just allowed to do bap, bap, bap at the end of a line as a pickup into the chorus.
Yeah.
But it was amazing, the age of discovery, and that rock and roll was also. And it had its burgeoning moments from bluegrass and skiffle and blues, and all of those things merged together and became a three-chord wonder.
Yeah.
And it was the likes of Elvis and Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis, not forgetting Buddy Holly and people like that on the gentler side, because rock and roll was not about shouting.
No.
It was about excitement, and sometimes contained excitement is better than overt. But also the greatest asset to rock and roll in its early days was Chuck Berry, who was the greatest rock and roll songwriter of the day.
Yeah.
So yes, the 50s and 60s were amazing, but let's not forgetting all the other people at that time, and it was all brought about by the transistor. Just the same as Jim Marshall was very important to the evolution, just the same as digitization of music in '82 was a disaster to start with, because the engineers didn't know how to make it sound like vinyl, and the vinyl just happened naturally, and it wasn't because of the agent, that wasn't because of the medium of whether it was analog or digital, it was because of what was happening in the studio. And when everything went digital in the studio, all the magic went. You didn't hear the scratch of a guitar string or the squeak of a bass drum pedal or the intake of breath anymore. It all went because it became perfect, and therefore almost robotic.
And true perfection has to be imperfect, as the
exactly. But you're right. The 60s, 50s, and 60s were a golden age because it was unsophisticated. They hadn't polished off the edges.
Do you remember your first song? What it was called?
I do, but I couldn't possibly sing it on the microphone.
I wouldn't ask you to.
No, it was. It was inspired by Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini, and it was something along those lines. But it was so revolting. I was very young at the time. My band had about 6 strings between the 3 guitar players that we had, acoustic guitar players. I was playing drums on a biscuit tin with knitting needles, and it was that age. So.
Just pure expression, isn't it? Pure feeling, whatever you got.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. I think sometimes when there is that limit on how many strings you've got, or you haven't got the drum kit. For me, for example, I didn't know how to my musical theory was terrible, so I just detuned my guitar to make it fit my voice. And when you don't know too much, and you're doing something because you just need to do something as a yearning, happy accidents or kind of just finding a way is really important, isn't it?
I think it is. And if you can't play the guitar very well to start with, just stick to one chord and learn to interact your storytelling with a rhythm. And find your range around that chord, not necessarily your singing range, but your musical range of expression. So you play one chord, and it's amazing how many tunes you can get out of that. You're going to bore people to death because you do need relief after a while to go to another chord, but it's a wonderful way to learn.
That's a really good way of saying that, because within playing one chord over and over again, there's a lot going on in that chord. There's a lot of depth to, you can really live inside that for a long time.
And don't forget, it's not just the melody, it's the rhythm as well.
Exactly, and the tones.
And pause. Be patient. You don't have to fill every moment.
Have you ever had writer's block? Has that ever been a thing? And have you kind of got
only when there's commercial pressure.
Okay.
Only when we lost our way. Only when the band felt lacking in confidence. Not overtly, but you could tell it was there because times were changing, and they were gradually. I could feel it. They were just trying to to a certain extent keep up with what was happening, instead of developing within themselves. And it was a mistake. We soon put it right, but you don't want to second guess yourself, do you?
No.
Ideally.
A couple more questions. You've given a lot of good advice here, but if you could just tell a young kid in a room who's 12 picking up an instrument for the first time and wants to be a songwriter, what one piece of advice would you give that young songwriter?
Write stories. I always come back to the same thing. Other people will give you different advice, but write stories and think, and then try and sing phrases from it, and tell the story without embellishment. Let the beauty of the words create the mood of the story. So you can still just sing words and with one chord, just over and over again, until it pleases you. And if it feels nice, just do it again and keep on doing it until you think, okay, well, that's enough of that. Let's advance a little bit and let's do a bit more. Don't push yourself too much. Don't become disappointed. Sing about things you know. Sing about things that make you angry or make you happy or inspire you or move you, things you're passionate about. If you're very young, I remember the interviews I was doing when I was a kid. My first band, I was 17, and the questions were like, what's your favorite car, your favorite pet, who's your favorite film star, who's your favorite pop star? And then one day I was tricked by a journalist at the local paper who said, yes, tell us a story about one of your experiences. And I said, I haven't got any. I was too young, and now of course I'm full of anecdotes after 60 years on the road, but it's very difficult to start with. But don't be ashamed and don't be shy. Just write about things that touch you, that move you, that can be interesting. Don't try and be an advanced songwriter from step one, because don't forget you're doing this in privacy. These days you can record what you're doing, but don't do that. Don't record until you're ready. Just enjoy the sound of your voice in your room with your guitar or your whatever it is you're playing, or even without an instrument. Just enjoy that and learn it and do it over and over again, because we all have to practice. Concert musicians in an orchestra practice for hours every day, still at their peak. The guys in Purple, they still practice 3-4 hours a day. And so don't be ashamed of practicing.
You've got to be disciplined about your craft as well as...
Exactly. When you're having a conversation with somebody, you don't really think, do you, about what you're about to say, because it comes naturally. It's like walking. You walk along the road, you've already taken in the landscape, so you know there's steps ahead or a road to cross. When you're talking, you're with a friend, you're having an argument, or you're having a friendly discussion about something you enjoy both. So follow that course, and don't try and write a song straight away. You can do, if you're good, but if you're lucky. But I would say just enjoy singing or talking or speaking about things you like, and putting them into phrases, and get those little phrases and repeat them over and over, and they become melodic.
You said something very interesting the other day when you were working with B Sharp to the kids and to the audience, which was these days, with all the kind of access to recording and computers, you made the point that actually it's easier now for people, and a lot of artists in their 30s now are saying it's so hard to make money and all the rest of it, which it is. But it was very nice to hear you say something positive about this age, in the sense that actually in some ways everything is easier to create in some ways.
Yes. Well, I'm not an absolutist, which is one of my favourite new words. I don't believe in that in almost any sense. Just because all of this technology is available to everybody now, even when you're very young and you understand it, even on your phone you can record. So that's good, that's fine. But resist the temptation to do that, because it's going to sound crap. Because you're not very good yet. You're just starting. So keep it to yourself. It's all about confidence and practice in your room. Just sing some bits, write some words, write a story, write a short story about something.
There's also, I read something the other day about John and Paul from the Beatles saying that actually they had to remember their tune. They wrote in a song in the afternoon and they'd go back home and they had to remember it the next day. So now if you're voice recording everything, that's fine. but actually sometimes the quality of a good melody is literally how memorable it is. So it's, you know,
Roger Glover and I said that all the time. The battery would run out on our little tape recorder. And we decided back in '65 when we started writing together that if it was good enough, we'd remember it the next morning.
Yeah, I think that's important.
And very often it wasn't. So it saved us a lot of time.
Yeah, okay, final question, and thank you so much for your time. If you could have written, this is the final question I ask every songwriter, but if you could have written any other song that exists out there, what song do you wish you could have written?
Oh, I don't know. I've never thought of that. I've never thought of that. There's so many songs that are just, God. Well, That's All Right, Mama, I think probably would have been my... Or, Trying to Get to You.
Okay.
Trying to Get to You by Elvis Presley.
Nice.
Was something that was so simple.
Yeah.
But so far beyond my reach to be able to do anything like that. That I just sat and wondered where this song came from.
I love that. I love asking that question because even when it's a bit of a hard question to answer, what comes is like that kind of instinct to a song from somewhere. And what you've just expressed there is that living inside someone else's song, yearning for it, kind of. You know, I think that's really important to kind of to get across.
Great.
Thank you so much for your time, Ian.
That's been a pleasure.
Really look forward to listening to the new album, and thank you.
Okay, great pleasure.